This is the question that all non-players love to ask chess players. How many moves ahead can you calculate? Reti answered, only one move, but the best one. The most famous combination of Garry Kasparov against Veselin Topalov in 1999 in his immortal game lasts only 14 moves. But in this video, you will calculate 100 moves ahead. And I promise I'm not lying. Let's get started. So this position is a study of mine which I composed. It's why to play on win, and the solution is 103 moves long. The first two moves are the most difficult, and we will take our time to understand them, but the remaining 101 moves are very easy to calculate till the end, and you will be able to do so. Another cool thing about this position is that the computer does not understand it. Even the best engine in the world, which is to this day Stockfish 15, thinks that every move leads to a draw. It is mistaken. There is one possible win that we are going to see. So let's try first king takes g1. Spoiler alert, it is not the solution, but it's the move we should try first to understand the position. So let's say a3 and now g6, ag, ag. Now we see it is a dead draw. Why? Because black will simply play king f6 and back to g7 for the rest of the game. Actually, they can pre-move every move till the end, because there is absolutely nothing that white can do. The knight cannot move, and the king can move only there. As we see, all these squares are guarded by black. So yeah, it's a dead draw. So maybe not g6 here, but f6 instead. Let's say c5, and after g6, ag, we don't take, because if we do, then it's a dead draw once more. The king can very easily handle this connected pass pawn. Usually it's good to have connected pass pawn, but here it's useless. The king can handle them, and there is no zugzwang. If we play c4, king f1, let's say, black can just move the king, and once we move a pawn, they just play king f7, and then back and forth for the rest of the game. They can pre-move. It's a dead draw. But we don't take back here. We play the clever move h6, and we created a zugzwang here. Why? Because if the king goes to the f file, then we push the h pawn, and if the king goes to the h file, we push the f pawn. And if they move a pawn, we can simply wait with our king, and sooner or later black will have no pawn moves left, and voila, it's the final zugzwang, and white wins. So is it that easy? Obviously not, because after f6, c5, g6, black does not take here, but they play h6 instead, and we have connected pass pawn. One of them is even protected, but they are useless, as we just saw. It's a dead draw. Let's say king f1, c4, and it's the same thing once more. If we move a pawn, then they play king here and back and forth for the rest of the game, and it's a draw. So if not f6 nor g6, maybe h6 instead. Our idea is c5, now g6, and if they take, we play f6, and we win, as we just saw, the same zugzwang position. And if after g6 they don't take, but play, let's say, c4, then we play f6, and now they have to take. Why? Because if c5 we play f7, if king f8 we take here and promote, and after king h8 there is this cute checkmate. So they have to take here, and yeah, we just play king f1 and we win. But now that we understood that the real threat here for white is to play h6, what can black do about it? Well, it's very easy. they play h6 themselves. And okay, g6, king g7 is a dead draw, but it seems that we can take and play f6 next with the same Zugzwang, with even an extra pawn on h5. But we are not in time because black plays king h7, and after f6 they take. And yeah, if we push, we lose both pawns, which doesn't really matter because it's a draw anyway. But if we don't push but play king f1 instead, they play king h7, and after king back to g1, the king goes back, and yeah, it's a draw. So, in this position, if we take h6 leads to a draw, what can we do? Well, play h6 ourselves. And here, the best move for black is obviously to protect the bishop. I mean, to play the bishop so it's not emprise anymore. But here, it seems that we can play g6, hg, and f6, and we win because we created this Zugzwang. But the bad news for us is that because of the bishop, there will be no Zugzwang. What we want is this position with black to move. But we cannot lose the tempo to give the move to black. Why? Because if we move our king here and back, then it's the same position with the move for white, with white to move. And we would like to move our king back to f1 in an odd number of moves, but we cannot. What we want to do is called triangulation. We want to play king e2, and after bishop g1, king to e1, and after bishop h2, king back to f1, and it's black to move. But here we cannot lose the tempo because our king can only go straight and back, and it will be every time in an even number of moves. So yeah, it's a dead draw. So how can we find a way to triangulate? Well, here in this position we play the very clever move a3, freeing the square on a2 for our king to triangulate. And now after king f7, to prevent g6, because yeah, now if we play g6 on f6, the king takes and it's a draw. So after king f7, we play king to e1 with the idea of going to a2 to triangulate. Bishop g1, king to d1, bishop h2, king to c1, bishop g1, king b1, bishop h2, king a2, very important. Bishop to g1, king to a1, king to b1, king to c1, king to d1, bishop d1, king to e1, and finally king to f1, and voila! We just lost one tempo, so black is forced to move the pawn, and then we do the same, and 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 now they have to move the king, so we can move g6, after king g8 we move f6, now they are forced to take, so we finally created this Zugzwang position here. What do? We give black the move, they play g5, once more the same maneuver, and finally we reach the decisive Zugzwang. Black can resign, and we are on move 103. So, as I promised, the first two moves were difficult, but to calculate till the end from here move 2 a3 to here move 103 king to f1, it's very easy and you can do so. I did not lie. I think this study is quite cool, if I may compliment myself, because the starting position is very light. There are few pieces and yeah, it's not unpleasant to watch. But I must admit that this idea of a long king maneuver to lose the tempo is ancient. It's very old. It's date at least from the 19th century. And let me introduce to you Mr. Let me introduce you to Mr. Otto Blathy, who in real life was a brilliant electrical engineer. He invented the electrical transformers. And in chess, he was very famous for his problems. He composed many very beautiful and creative problems. He was the father of what we called the grotesque genre. And yeah, this is one of his problems. Just before that, if you like this video, please press the like button, don't forget. And we are going to see the solution. As we see, we want this position with black to move, because if they play king h6, then we answer simply king b4, and we take the pawn, and it's all over. How to lose the tempo? Now it should be kind of obvious. We triangulate on h2, and we go back. And so they play e5, and we do the same thing over and over again. 2. And final zigzag, black has to move the king h6, we play king b4, and it seems it's all over. But black plays bishop takes c2. Okay, I take, but now it's a draw, because I won queen, and if we take, it's stalemate. So my question to you is, how do you win after bishop takes c2? If you have the answer, please write it down in the comments. I promise I will take a look at them. And it's time for me to say goodbye. Have a very nice day. Ciao.